Hi there, and welcome to the Duchess Library, where every page holds a treasure. I'm your host, and today we're diving into yet another wonderful Regency romance story. This is a tale of cruel commands and devastating consequences, where a single night of passion led to 5 years of regret and one last chance at redemption. So settle in, dear readers, and let the story begin.
The opera house exploded into chaos. Maximilian Thornwood stood on the stage of Teatro La Fenice, the sapphire ring still trembling in his outstretched hand, when his sister's voice cut through the applause like a blade through silk. "This marriage is invalid." Every head in the Venetian theatre swiveled toward Lady Lucinda Ravencroft, her face twisted with something between triumph and rage. She rose from her box seat, pointing a gloved finger at the stage where Maximilian knelt before the woman all of Venice knew as Madame Celestine, the mysterious soprano who'd captured every heart in Italy. But Maximilian knew her as something else entirely. Someone else. His wife, Arabella, the woman he destroyed 5 years ago with 6 words the morning after their wedding. Lucinda's voice rang through the gilt-covered hall. "She's been legally declared dead. This marriage cannot stand." Arabella's hand, which had been reaching for the ring, froze mid-air. Maximilian watched her face, that beautiful, terrible face he'd spent 5 years trying to forget, shift from joy to something harder. Something that reminded him exactly why she'd vanished in the first place. In the ducal box, 2 children watched with wide eyes. Oliver, the boy Maximilian had raised as his son, and Ophelia, the daughter Arabella had stolen away the night she disappeared. "Furthermore," Lucinda continued, venom dripping from every syllable, "that boy is not of Thornwood blood. My son is the rightful heir." The whispers became roars. Scandal, the lifeblood of society, pumping through the theatre like wildfire. Maximilian rose slowly, still holding the ring, still looking at Arabella. Her eyes were the blue of a winter sky, and right now they were filling with something that looked dangerously close to regret. "Not again," he said, quiet but firm. "I won't lose you again." But how had they arrived here? At this precipice between redemption and ruin? The answer lay 5 years in the past, in a different country, in a moment of collision that changed everything.
If you're enjoying this tale of second chances and scandal, don't forget to like this video, subscribe for more Regency romance, and share this with someone who loves a good love story. Now, let's go back to where it all began.
5 years earlier, spring 1810, Hyde Park. The wheel came off at full gallop. Arabella Winterbourne had exactly 3 seconds to register the splintering crack of wood, the sudden lurch of her curricle, and the way her mare screamed and reared before the world tilted sideways. She was airborne, arms flailing, the ground rushing up to meet her with terrifying speed. Then strong hands caught her waist. She slammed into a solid chest hard enough to knock the wind from her lungs. The world finally stopped spinning. She found herself cradled against someone who smelled of sandalwood and leather and something darker, something that made her breath catch for entirely different reasons. "Easy there," the voice rumbled through her. "I've got you." Arabella looked up, and dark green eyes stared back at her from a face that could have easily been carved from marble. Dark hair fell across his forehead, disheveled from the rescue. His jaw was clenched, and she realized with a start that he was shaking. "Are you hurt?" he demanded. Not asked. Demanded. Arabella's voice came out breathless. "I don't think so." The mysterious stranger didn't let go. He just stood there in the middle of Hyde Park, holding her like she weighed nothing, like he had no intention of ever setting her down. His thumb pressed against her ribs, and she felt the heat of it through her riding habit, burning like a brand. "Your hands are trembling," she whispered. "You were falling." He said it like that explained everything. Like the world had been ending and he'd barely managed to stop it. "I saw you in the air and I..." But before he could finish, a voice rang out, pulling their attention away from each other. Lady Winterbourne. Her chaperone, Mrs. Pemberton, came running with all the grace of a startled goose. "Oh, good heavens, my dear. Are you quite all right?" The spell broke. The stranger, the devastatingly handsome stranger who still hadn't released her, seemed to remember himself. He set her down carefully, steadying her when her legs wobbled. "Forgive me." He stepped back, creating proper distance even as his eyes never left her face. That was quite improper. Think none of it. You saved my life. Arabella's heart was thundering so hard she was certain he could hear it. I think propriety can forgive much in such circumstances. The corner of his mouth quirked. Almost a smile. Perhaps. Though I fear Mrs. Pemberton may disagree. Indeed, her chaperone was already fluttering about, checking for injuries, making little distressed noises. But Arabella couldn't look away from the stranger. She couldn't stop noticing the way his cravat was slightly askew now, or how his green eyes had flecks of gold in them, or how he was looking at her like he'd just discovered something precious and terrifying all at once. I should know your name, she said, surprising herself with her boldness. So I know who to thank properly. Maximilian Thornwood. He bowed, a perfect, elegant gesture that somehow made her stomach flip. Duke of Ashmont. A duke. Of course he was a duke. Arabella fought the urge to laugh hysterically. She was a baron's daughter with more debts than dowry, and she'd just been caught in the arms of one of England's eligible bachelors. Lady Arabella Winterbourne, she managed. And I'm terribly grateful you have quick reflexes, Your Grace. Max. The word slipped out before he seemed to realize he'd said it. His eyes widened slightly. My friends call me Max. If you'd like to. Mrs. Pemberton made a strangled sound. Arabella bit her lip to keep from grinning. Then you must call me Bella, since we've already dispensed with so much propriety. Bella. He said her name like he was tasting wine, savoring it. I will say, it definitely suits you. They stood there, traffic flowing around them, a broken curricle being handled by his groom, the afternoon sun turning everything golden. And something passed between them, something electric and inevitable and absolutely terrifying in its intensity. I should see you home safely, Max said finally. Your curricle is beyond immediate repair. That's not necessary, Arabella said. Please. His voice dropped, became almost rough. I need to know you arrive safely. Otherwise I'll spend the rest of the day imagining you injured somewhere and myself not there to catch you. Arabella's breath hitched. That's rather forward, improper, completely inappropriate for a first meeting. He ran a hand through his hair, mussing it further. Yes, all of those things. But I find I don't particularly care. Mrs. Pemberton looked ready to faint, and Arabella felt ready to do something far more reckless. Then I accept, Your Grace. Max. His answering smile could have lit all of London. The carriage ride to her father's townhouse took 20 minutes. Arabella spent 19 of them pretending not to notice how often Max's knee brushed hers as the carriage swayed, how his eyes kept drifting to her mouth, or how the air between them seemed to crackle with possibility. Do you often rescue maidens in distress? She asked, desperate to break the tension before she did something truly scandalous like grab his cravat and pull him toward her. Only on Tuesdays. His tone was solemn, but his eyes danced. The rest of the week I'm terribly unheroic. Somehow I doubt that, she chuckled. You'd be surprised what darkness lurks beneath a ducal title. There was something in his voice, a shadow, a hint of bitterness, that made her want to know everything about him. Every secret, every scar, every reason he looked at her like she was simultaneously his salvation and his doom. Then I'll have to discover it for myself, she said softly. His hand, resting on the seat between them, moved an inch closer to hers. Is that a promise, Bella? It's a certainty, she said with a smile. Mrs. Pemberton cleared her throat so loudly it was practically a shriek. When they arrived at the modest Winterbourne townhouse, Max helped her down with exquisite care. His hands lingered on her waist again. I should like to call on you, he said. He didn't say it as a question, but another statement of intent. Tomorrow, if you'll permit it. I'll be waiting, she answered. Until tomorrow then. He raised her hand to his lips, and the kiss he pressed to her glove burned straight through the fabric, through her skin, into her very bones. She watched him ride away and knew with absolute certainty that her life had just changed forever. She had no idea how right she was. The next 6 weeks passed in a blur of stolen moments and building desire. Max appeared at every social event she attended. They danced at Lady Pembroke's ball until the tongues wagged. They argued about Wordsworth at the British Museum while pretending to study ancient artifacts. They attended the opera and spent more time watching each other than the stage. "You're thinking too loudly," Max murmured one evening at Vauxhall Gardens. They'd escaped the main pathways, finding a quiet alcove behind a statue while fireworks exploded overhead. "I can hear your thoughts from here." Arabella tilted her head, studying him in the flickering light. "Then what am I thinking?" "You're thinking that this is madness, that we've known each other mere weeks, and that society will have opinions about how fast this is moving." Uncannily accurate. She raised an eyebrow. "And what are you thinking?" she asked. "I'm thinking I don't give a damn what society thinks." He stepped closer, crowding her against the cool marble. "I'm thinking I've never met anyone who challenges me the way you do, who looks at me like I'm just a man, not a title or a fortune or a prize to be won. But you are just a man." She placed her palm on his chest, feeling his heart race beneath her fingers. "A man who quotes poetry badly and has terrible opinions about art and rescued me from certain injury." "My poetry recitation is not terrible," he scoffed. "It's atrocious." She giggled. "You always miss the best lines." "Then teach me." His hand came up to cup her face, thumb tracing her cheekbone with devastating gentleness. "Teach me everything. Stay with me." The fireworks reached their crescendo, and in that explosion of light and sound, he kissed her. It wasn't chaste, or proper, or anything resembling the careful courtship they'd been conducting. His mouth claimed hers with a hunger that stole her breath, his other hand sliding into her hair, scattering pins. She gasped against his lips and he took advantage, deepening the kiss until she forgot where she ended and he began. When they finally broke apart, both breathing hard, his forehead rested against hers. "Marry me, Bella," he whispered. "Marry me before I go mad." "Yes." No hesitation. No doubt. Just certainty. "Yes, Max, yes." He kissed her again, softer this time but no less devastating. "I should ask your father properly. I should wait. Do this correctly." "I don't care about correct." "I know." He smiled. "That's why I love you." The words hung in the air between them, precious and terrifying and absolutely true. "Say it again," she breathed. "I love you, Arabella Winterbourne. I think I loved you from the moment you looked up at me with those impossible blue eyes and weren't afraid." "I wasn't afraid. I was stunned." "By the fall?" he asked. "No, you idiot," she teased. "I was stunned by you." He groaned and kissed her again, pressing her back against the statue, and she thought she might actually die from wanting him, from needing this man who'd appeared in her life like lightning and changed everything. When he finally pulled back, his eyes were dark with promise. "I'm going to your father first thing tomorrow morning. I'm not waiting another day." "Good. Bella." He cupped her face with both hands. "You need to know something. Before we do this. Before you agree to tie yourself to me." Something in his voice made her freeze. "What?" "I know society sees me as eligible, but there are complications. Financial matters my father left in disarray. Expectations I'm not certain I can meet. I need you to understand what you're agreeing to." "I don't care about your finances." "Well, you should. Because your father certainly will. Then we'll manage it together." She covered his hands with hers. "Max, I'm not marrying your bank account. I'm marrying you." The relief in his eyes was so profound it hurt to see. "You have no idea what that means to me." "Then show me. Tomorrow. And every day after." He kissed her once more, gentle and reverent, like a vow. "Tomorrow," he promised. "I'll make this right. I'll make everything right." But some promises, Arabella would learn, were impossible to keep. The next morning, Maximilian Thornwood stood in Lord Winterbourne's study, fists clenched at his sides, listening to the man destroy his world. The arrangement is simple, Your Grace. Lord Winterbourne poured brandy with steady hands. Your father's gambling debts total nearly £20,000. Debts owed to me, specifically. I'm willing to forgive them entirely in exchange for one thing. Max's jaw was so tight it ached. My marriage to your daughter. Precisely. Winterbourne smiled. She's fond of you, which makes this easier. But make no mistake, this is a business transaction. My investment in your family's solvency in exchange for an advantageous connection. And if I refuse, then I call in the debts. Your estate is mortgaged beyond recovery. You'll lose everything: Ashmont, the London house, your seat in Parliament. Everything your family has built for generations. Winterbourne's eyes were cold. Is your pride worth that much, Your Grace? It wasn't pride. It was the certain knowledge that Arabella deserved better than this. Better than a man who was marrying her to save his own skin. Does she know? Max asked quietly. About the arrangement. She knows her father has made a beneficial match for her. Nothing more. You're forcing her into this. Max spat. I'm securing her future. She'll be a duchess. What girl wouldn't want that? A girl who thinks I'm choosing her for love, Max thought. A girl who stood in the gardens last night and said yes because she believes I want her, not her father's willingness to forgive debt. I need your answer, Your Grace. Winterbourne topped off his brandy. Do we have an agreement? Max thought of Ashmont's tenants, the servants who'd served his family for generations, his mother's grave in the family chapel. Thought of everything he'd lose. Then he thought of Bella's face last night when he'd said, I love you. The way she'd looked at him like he'd hung the stars. He was about to destroy that. Would spend their entire marriage knowing she'd been bartered like property, trapped with a man who'd had no choice but to take her. Unless he gave her a choice. He could marry her as arranged. Give her the wedding, the title, everything she deserved. And then he could set her free. Once there was an heir, once the estate was secure, he could release her from this gilded cage. Let her find someone who could offer her a real choice, real love. It would kill him. But at least she'd be free. We have an agreement, he said, and felt something inside him crack clean through. Lord Winterbourne raised his glass. Excellent. I'll have my solicitor draw up the papers. Max left the study feeling like a man walking to the gallows. The ring in his pocket, the one he'd commissioned, the sapphire the exact color of Bella's eyes, felt like it weighed 1,000 pounds. 2 hours later, he was on one knee in the serpentine mist, watching Bella's face light up with joy, and hating himself more than he'd ever thought possible. Yes, she said through tears. Yes, Max. Always yes. He slipped the ring on her finger and kissed her, and it tasted like goodbye. The wedding was everything a society event should be. St. George's overflowed with roses and lilies. The pews held everyone who mattered in London. Arabella walked down the aisle in Brussels lace that had taken 3 seamstresses 6 weeks to complete, and she'd never felt more beautiful or more loved. Maximilian stood at the altar watching her approach, and something flickered across his face, something that looked almost like pain. But then he smiled, and she forgot everything except the way he was looking at her. You're trembling, she whispered when she reached him. I'm terrified, he whispered back. Of what? Of how much I love you. The ceremony blurred. She heard herself make vows. Heard his voice crack on to love and to cherish. When the vicar pronounced them man and wife, Max kissed her like a drowning man finding air, and the congregation erupted in applause. At the wedding breakfast, he never left her side. His hand found hers under the table, squeezed tight like he was afraid she might disappear. She squeezed back, giddy with champagne and happiness and the absolute certainty that this man was hers and she was his and nothing could ever change that. They left for Ashmont House as the sun set, rose petals thrown in their wake. In the carriage, Max pulled her onto his lap and kissed her until she forgot her own name. I can't wait, he breathed against her throat. Bella, I've been patient for 6 weeks but I can't. Then don't. He groaned and kissed her harder, hands sliding into her carefully pinned hair, scattering pearls across the carriage floor. "You're going to ruin me." "Promise," he teased. By the time they reached Ashmont House, her hair was half undone and his cravat was somewhere on the carriage floor. The servants had been dismissed for the night. He'd insisted on privacy. He carried her up the stairs, and she laughed breathlessly at the ridiculousness of it. "I can walk, you know." "I know, but I've been dreaming of this moment. Let me have it." The ducal suite was a fantasy. Candles everywhere, rose petals scattered across silk sheets in a pattern that must have taken hours. He set her down gently, and suddenly the laughter died. They stared at each other across 3 feet of carpet that felt like miles. "Bella," he said, his voice rough. "We don't have to, if you're not ready." She reached up and began removing pins from her hair. "I'm ready." What followed was tender and overwhelming. Nothing like the clinical descriptions she'd received from married friends. Max undressed her like she was made of spun sugar, whispering poetry against every inch of exposed skin. When he finally joined her on the bed, he was shaking again. "I've never," he stopped, laughed nervously. "Okay, that's not true. I have. But never with someone matters," he cupped her face. "You matter, Bella. I need you to know that." She pulled him down and kissed him. "Show me." He did. Slowly, carefully, with a reverence that brought tears to her eyes. And after, when they lay tangled in ruined sheets, she traced the scars on his chest and listened to his heartbeat slow. "This one." She touched a puckered mark near his ribs. "Fencing accident at Cambridge. My opponent's blade broke." "And this?" A thin line across his shoulder. "A duel I shouldn't have fought." "Over what?" she found herself asking. There was a short pause before he finally replied. "A woman's honor." Something cold touched her spine. "Were you in love with her?" He caught her hand, pressed it over his heart. "No, I wasn't. I didn't know what love was. Not until Hyde Park. Not until a woman with impossible blue eyes looked at me like I was worth saving." His green eyes were absolutely serious. "Bella, you're everything. Everything I never thought I could have. Everything I..." The words hung there, unfinished. She kissed him, and he pulled her closer, and they made love again as the candles burned down. She fell asleep in his arms, safe and happy and completely unaware that in 6 hours, her world would end.
If you're already hooked by Maximilian and Arabella's love story, hit that like button now, because what happens next will absolutely shatter you. Make sure you're subscribed with notifications on so you don't miss a single moment of this heartbreaking journey. And if you're feeling that knot in your stomach wondering what could possibly go wrong after such a perfect night, drop a comment with your predictions. Trust me, you won't see this coming. Now, let's return to the morning that changed everything.
The next morning, Arabella woke to cold sheets. Pale dawn light filtered through the curtains. Max stood at the window, fully dressed in riding clothes, back rigid. Something about his posture made her stomach clench. "Max." She reached for her dressing gown. "Come back to bed." "That won't be necessary." The coldness in his voice froze her mid-movement. "What do you mean?" she asked, confused. He didn't turn. "Last night served its purpose. You'll remain in the East Wing until you produce an heir, preferably male. Once the child is born and confirmed, you'll receive a generous settlement and may retire to any of my country estates. Or abroad, if you prefer." The words didn't make sense. She must have still be dreaming. This couldn't be real. "I don't understand." Now he turned. His face was a stranger's, all hard angles and Arctic indifference. "This is a marriage of convenience, Lady Ashmont. Let's not pretend otherwise." Her vision blurred. She grabbed the bedpost for support. "But you said, last night you said I was everything." "I said what was necessary to consummate the union." He adjusted his cufflinks with maddening casualness. "Surely you didn't mistake duty for affection." Each word was a knife. She felt them puncture lungs, slice through the soft tissue of her heart. "You're lying. You have to be lying." "I assure you, I'm entirely serious." He walked to the door, paused without looking back. "I'll visit monthly until you conceive. Try to make it quick." The door closed with a soft click. Arabella stood there in her dressing gown, surrounded by rose petals and silk sheets that still smelled like him, and something inside her shattered so completely she wondered if she'd ever be whole again. The scream that tore from her throat brought no one running. He'd dismissed the servants. She was utterly, perfectly alone. The months that followed were a special kind of torture. Arabella was confined to the East Wing like a prisoner. Max kept his word about monthly visits, cold, clinical encounters that left her feeling more like a broodmare than a wife. He never stayed after, never spoke beyond the bare necessities. But sometimes she'd catch him watching her, just for a moment, and his face would show something that looked almost like anguish before the mask slammed back down. His sister Lucinda visited in month 3, all false sympathy and poison. "How tragic that you thought he loved you. The whole ton knows this was a financial arrangement. Your father sold you to settle his debts. Did he not mention?" The slap cracked across the drawing room. Lucinda's head snapped back. "Get out of my house," Arabella said quietly. Lucinda smiled, touching her reddening cheek. "Careful, dear. That common blood is showing." Month 5 brought the physician's confirmation. She was with child. When she told Max, he was at his desk, didn't look up. "Boy or girl?" "It's too early to determine. Inform me when it's confirmed." His hand trembled as he wrote. "Just once. Are you well?" Hope bloomed painfully in her chest. "I'm well. Max, if we could just talk." "That's all. You may go." The hope died. She didn't see him crumple the paper after she left. Didn't see him drop his head into his hands, shoulders shaking. Didn't hear him whisper, "I'm sorry, I'm sorry, I'm so sorry," into the empty room. By month 7, Arabella had made her decision. Her lady's maid Mary had confessed everything: the debts, the arrangement, Lord Winterbourne's manipulation. And Mary's sister had died in childbirth, leaving a baby boy bound for the foundling hospital. "Bring him here," Arabella said through the fog of betrayal. "My lady. His Grace wants an heir. He'll get one. But not his blood." She placed a hand on her swelling belly. "And I'll take my real child and disappear. Let him choke on his perfect arrangement." The night of the birth, a storm raged over London that matched the tempest in Arabella's body. Thunder shook the windows. Lightning split the sky. And Maximilian paced the corridor outside the birthing room like a caged animal. Every scream undid him. He'd been strong for 9 months, kept his distance, played the cold husband to perfection. But hearing her in pain broke something fundamental inside him. "Your Grace, you should rest. Don't tell me to rest when she's dying in there." "She's not dying, Your Grace. Labor is difficult, but..." Another scream cut through the explanation. Max's fist hit the wall hard enough to split his knuckles. 18 hours of hell. That's what it took. When the midwife finally emerged, her apron was bloodstained and her face drawn. "Your Grace, you have twins, a boy and a girl." His legs gave out. He caught himself on the doorframe. "Twins? And Bella? She's lost considerable blood. The next hours will tell." He shoved past her into the room. Arabella lay grey-faced against soaked sheets, barely conscious. 2 tiny bundles lay beside her, squalling. "Bella." He fell to his knees, grabbed her hand. "Please. Look at me. You have to fight. I need to tell you," his voice cracked. "I've been such a fool. I love you, do you hear me? I've loved you from the beginning. Your father lied. I thought you were forced to marry me. I was trying to protect you by setting you free, but I was wrong. I was so wrong." Her eyes opened, unfocused, glazed with pain. "Liar," she whispered. "Bella, oh thank God you're alive." "Liar." Tears leaked from the corners of her eyes. "You said, duty." She spat. "I lied. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. Please don't leave me." but she'd already slipped back under, and the physician was pushing him out, and Max collapsed in the hallway with his head in his hands and wept like he hadn't since his mother died. She'd survived. Barely. But when he tried to see her 3 days later, Mary blocked his path. "She's sleeping, Your Grace. I need to see my children. Both of them." Mary's face crumpled. "There's only one, Your Grace. The boy, Oliver. The girl. Lady Ashmont took her while you were with the physician," she said. Mary's voice dropped to a whisper. "She said you could have your heir, but Ophelia was hers." The world stopped. "Where is she?" "I don't know. She made me swear." He found Arabella in the nursery that night, standing for the first time, leaning heavily on Mary. She was looking at Oliver with an expression of absolute desolation. "Bella, where is she? Where's Ophelia?" "Safe. Away from you." He came around to face her. He looked like death, hollow-eyed, unshaven, desperate. "Please. I know I've hurt you. But don't take my daughter." "Your daughter?" Her laugh was sharp as broken glass. "The child you wanted me to produce like livestock? Consider your contract fulfilled, Your Grace. You have your heir, Oliver Hartley Thornwood, future Duke of Ashmont. I don't care about the title. I care about you, Bella. About our children," he said in a pained voice. "There is no our." She spat, stepping closer, every word precisely aimed. "You made that abundantly clear. You have your son. That was the arrangement. I'm simply honoring it." "Bella, please. Let me explain." "You had 9 months to explain. But you chose silence." She was trembling, from weakness or fury or both. "I'm leaving tonight. Per our arrangement. You never have to see me again." "No, Bella." He grabbed her hand. "I won't let you." She wrenched free, stumbled. He caught her automatically, and suddenly they were frozen, his arms around her, her hands on his chest, their faces inches apart. She could feel his heart hammering, see the tears on his face. And for one terrible moment, she almost believed him. "I hate you," she whispered. "I know." His voice broke completely. "But please don't go. I'll do anything. I'll grovel. I'll give you Ashmont, the title, everything. I don't want your possessions." She pushed away with the last of her strength. "I wanted your heart. But you were very clear that was never on the table." She pulled the locket from around her neck, their engagement portrait, and pressed it into his hand. "Goodbye, Maximilian. Wait. There's something you don't know about why I did all this." But she was already walking away, Mary supporting her. At the door, she turned back. He stood holding the locket and baby Oliver, looking like a man watching his soul walk out the door. "I loved you," she said quietly. "God help me, I would have loved you forever." Then she was gone. He stood in her empty room until dawn, holding her pillow, breathing in the last traces of her scent. When the servants found him, there were tear stains on the silk. 5 years passed like a slow death. Maximilian raised Oliver with love he couldn't quite explain. The boy was sweet and clever and called him Papa, and Max loved him fiercely despite knowing the child wasn't his blood. Mary had confessed that truth 2 years in, racked with guilt. "I don't care," Max had said. And he didn't. Oliver was his son in every way that mattered. But Ophelia haunted him. His daughter, out there somewhere. And Bella. God. Bella. He kept her portrait hidden in his study. Listened to a music box he'd had commissioned, playing their Vauxhall Waltz. He wrote letters he never sent because he had no address to send them to. Then came the day Jasper brought him the newspaper review from Venice. The sketch of La Serafina. "It's her," Jasper said quietly. "I'm certain." Max stared at the sketch until the lines blurred. "I have to go to Venice." "Max," Jasper started, but stopped. "I have to tell her the truth. All of it. Even if she hates me. Even if she spits in my face. She deserves to know why he couldn't finish. I have to try." 3 weeks later, he sat in a private box at Teatro La Fenice with Oliver beside him, heart in his throat as the curtain rose. She appeared in silver and sapphires, masked, and he forgot how to breathe. 5 years had refined her beauty into something almost painful to look at. She'd always been lovely, but now there was a strength in her bearing, a power in her presence that commanded the stage. The aria began. It was about lost love, about a man who loved a woman but couldn't speak it until she was gone. Every word was a knife to his chest. Then she saw him, and the note wavered, just for a heartbeat. Their eyes locked across the theater, and 5 years of longing crashed over him like a wave. Beside him, Oliver whispered, "Papa, why are you crying?" He hadn't even noticed. She recovered, finished the aria with such devastating passion that the entire house rose to their feet before the final note ended. But Max was already moving, pushing through the crowd toward the stage door. He found her on a balcony behind the theater, still in costume, shaking. "Bella." She whirled. Don't call me that." "Arabella. Lady Ashmont. My wife." "I'm not your wife. That woman died 5 years ago." "No, she clearly didn't." He climbed the balcony steps slowly. "Because she's standing right here. Angry. Beautiful. Alive. You need to leave." "I can't. Not until you hear me." The words tumbled out. "Your father lied to me. He told me you were forced to marry me, to settle his debts. I thought, God, Bella, I thought you hated being trapped with me. So I decided I'd give you the wedding, the heir, then set you free to find real love." She stared, unable to speak. "I was trying to protect you. I was an idiot. I was cruel. But I loved you. From Hyde Park. From that first moment. I've loved you every single day since. You told me it nothing but duty. I lied. I've spent 5 years dying from that lie." He was close enough to touch her now. "Bella, I know I don't deserve forgiveness. But please tell me there's a chance. Tell me some part of you still." "Stop." She was trembling. "You can't just do this, not after everything." "I brought Oliver," Max added. She froze. "You did what?" "He's here. He's been asking about you since he could talk. I've told him nothing but lies, and I'm tired of lying." He took a breath. "There's something you need to know about him. About why I..." "Mama." They both turned. Ophelia stood in the doorway, dark curls and green eyes. Max's green eyes, curious. Max's world tilted. "Ophelia," he gasped. The child who was supposed to be sickly. Small. His daughter. She was here. She was alive. She was perfect. "Leah, go back inside," Arabella said quickly. But Max couldn't move. Couldn't speak. Could only stare at this little girl who had his eyes and Bella's smile and who he'd spent 5 years mourning. "You told me she might not survive," he managed. "I lied." Arabella's voice was cold. "Just like you did." They faced each other across 5 years of pain, both drowning in it, when Oliver appeared, led by a confused servant. "Papa." The music stopped and I wanted to find you. He saw Arabella. Went completely still. "You're the singer." "Oliver." Arabella's voice broke on his name. The boy looked between them. "Papa, why does she look sad?" "Because grown-ups are very stupid sometimes," Max said quietly. Ophelia tugged Arabella's gown. "Mama, why is that boy calling him Papa?" The 4 of them stood there, 2 children, 2 shattered adults, and enough secrets to sink a ship. "I think," Arabella said finally, "we need to talk." They sent the children with Margareta and stood in the empty rehearsal room, circling each other like wounded animals. "Oliver isn't your son," Arabella said first. "He's my sister's child. She died in childbirth. I gave him to you as your heir, took Leah, and left." Max absorbed this. "I know. Mary told me. 2 years ago. You've known all this time." Max shrugged. I didn't care. He's my son in every way that matters. I've raised him. I love him. He met her eyes. Just like Ophelia is your daughter. Then why didn't you come find me? He pulled out the stack of letters. All returned. I tried. God, Bella, I tried. But you vanished so completely. And I thought, maybe you were finally happy. Maybe I had no right to drag you back into my failure. She took the letters with shaking hands. Read one at random. Then another. Each one a confession of love, regret, desperate longing. I went to Vauxhall, one letter said. Stood in the exact spot where I first kissed you. Some fool was playing our song. I left before the first verse ended. Couldn't bear remembering how you looked at me before I destroyed everything. Tears streamed down her face. Max. I don't expect forgiveness. He stepped closer. But let me try. Please. Let me court you properly. The way I should have from the beginning. We're already married. Then let me earn the right to be your husband. She should say no. Should protect what was left of her heart. But she was so tired of being strong. 1 month. You have 1 month in Venice. I'll take it. What followed was a courtship that rewrote every rule. Gondola rides where he confessed listening to their music box every night. A masquerade where they danced as strangers and said all the things they couldn't say before. A rainstorm where they argued on a balcony until he kissed her and she kissed back until they both cried. He attended every performance. Sent flowers. Spent time with both children, watching Leah open up to him, and watching Oliver and Leah become inseparable. 3 weeks in, during another storm, she found him on her balcony. What are you doing out here? Getting angry at fate. He spread his arms to the rain. For wasting 5 years. For being too much a coward to just tell you the truth. Come inside, you'll catch your death. I don't care. He turned to her, soaked and furious and heartbroken. I don't care about anything except you. Except this. She kissed him. Hard and desperate. 5 years of starvation in one kiss. They broke apart gasping. I hate you, she sobbed. I know, he admitted. I hate that I still love you. I know that too. If you ever hurt me again. I won't. I swear on Oliver's life. On Ophelia's. On my own soul. He dropped to his knees in the rain. Again. Marry me again. Choose me. Let me choose you properly this time. She pulled him up, kissed him. You're impossible. Is that a yes? He asked with a soft chuckle. It's provisional. He laughed, and it was the most beautiful sound she'd heard in 5 years. The final performance arrived too fast. The theatre was packed with Venetian nobility and half of London's ton who'd travelled for the scandal. The opera ended to thunderous applause. Arabella took her bow. Then Maximilian walked onto the stage. Gasps rippled through the crowd. The Duke of Ashmont, on stage at the opera? Madame Celestine, he said, loud enough for everyone to hear. The world knows you as the woman with the voice of an angel. But I knew you first as Arabella Winterbourne. The woman I was fool enough to push away. Who I've spent 5 years trying to find my way back to. He dropped to one knee. And produced a ring, new, sapphire, the color of her eyes. I'm asking you to marry me. Again. In front of all these witnesses. Because I want the world to know, I'm not ashamed of loving you. I'm ashamed I ever made you doubt it. The crowd held its breath. You're insufferable, she said with a wide grin. Is that a yes? It's a yes, you impossible man. He slid the ring on. The crowd erupted. Then came Lucinda's voice, sharp and venomous. This marriage is invalid. She's legally dead. And that boy is not of Thornwood blood. Max stood. Careful, sister. But Jasper was faster. Before you discuss bloodlines, Lady Lucinda, shall we talk about your son's parentage? The French ambassador? The paid-off midwife? Lucinda crumpled, afraid of her dirty linen being aired out in public. Arabella stepped forward. Oliver is my nephew, but is also the boy Max raised with love. He's the future Duke of Ashmont by choice. Your objections are dismissed. She turned to the crowd. I am Arabella Winterbourne Thornwood. I left my husband because I thought he hated me. I was wrong. We both were. But we're standing here now, choosing each other. If that scandalizes you, good. Max kissed her in front of everyone. The theater exploded in applause. 1 year later, Christmas morning at Ashmont House. Oliver and Ophelia raced downstairs, followed by their baby brother. Maximilian watched from the drawing room, Arabella in his arms. Regrets? She asked. Not a single one, he said. Arabella scoffed. Liar. Fine. I regret 5 years. But we're making up for them. Later, at the pianoforte, they played the Vauxhall piece together. For Hans, one melody. I have something for you, he said. A book. Leather-bound. Inside, every letter he'd written and never sent. 5 years of longing. Read them when you doubt me, he said. When we fight, and we will fight, read them. Remember that even when I was lost, I never gave up on us. She was crying. You're going to make me ruin my Christmas face. He kissed her. Your face is perfect when you cry. That night, watching snow cover London, they stood at the window. Do you ever wonder what would have happened if you'd been honest from the beginning? She asked. Every day. We could have avoided so much pain. But would we be this sure? This grateful? She rested her head on his chest. Probably not. Then maybe the pain was worth it. They stood there, two people who'd loved each other stupidly, lost each other unnecessarily, and fought their way back to something stronger than either of them alone. Thank you for not vanishing forever, he whispered. She tilted her head up, kissed him. And thank you for finding me anyway. In the window's reflection, not the naive couple from Hyde Park, but the people they'd become. Scarred, stronger, and unbreakable. If you loved this story of second chances and scandalous redemption, please like this video, subscribe for more Regency romance, and share with someone who believes in love that survives even its own death. Leave a comment telling me which moment made you cry the most. I read every single one. Until next time, remember, some love stories don't end. They just find their way home.